Sinpusher are a three-piece classic rock band who hail from West Cornwall. They utilize the simplicity of guitar, bass and drums to deliver a set of high-octane rock covers and originals.
Time, but I won't be falling down around here no more. They tell me that you always fall the last time. You know the last time is just the last time, baby, that's all. You gotta get back on the ride, that ride's inside. Get back on the ride that rides inside. Get it moving now.
You call yourself Sinpusher. How did you come across that name?
Really into ZZ Top, and they did a song called Pincushion. It's about kind of voodoo kind of thing going on, and to lighten the load of the heaviness of it, I think they did a spoof track called Sinpusher, and I just thought it was funny, and we just took the name. It was a working title from them. So thanks to Billy, Dusty, and Frank, ZZ Top.
Ty, you're well known around Penzance music scene from such acts like Jimi Hendrix tribute band, Across Town Traffic, and many more. Who inspired you to play guitar?
My mother.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was playing with my Lego one day, and my mum came into the room and said, "You're going to learn to play a musical instrument," and I kind of went, "Yeah, right." Just started laughing and carried on building something out of Lego. And the first instrument that me and my brother got was actually an accordion, and we never looked back really. In fact, to be honest with you, the one thing that sticks out in my mind is the smell of the wind that came out of it, you know.
Yeah?
Weird smell. It was alright though.
So it's grown from there?
Yeah, I just got into that, and then, you know, guitar. Really.
Okay. How has living in West Cornwall inspired your music? Or maybe it hasn't.
I mean, anyone that lives down here can be inspired by a lot of things. We're quite lucky to have what we've got. But from a rock and roll point of view, I don't know, the sea.
Yeah,
I don't know.
the sea, definitely. Yeah. Without getting too, hey man. No, it is. You know, I mean, the area's great. It's pretty inspirational.
Could you tell me how the music scene's changed over the last 5 years or so?
The worst.
Yeah. Oh, I'd say around here, I think there's a lot of problems with noise pollution. Like the councils are getting a bit down on people who put live music on. I think because
it's a change.
I'm not sure why, but I think they want certain amounts of money to come down here, and like if there's too much noise, that certain kind of money might disappear again, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So there is a bit of that, and the pubs are feeling a lot of pressure. And the smoking ban as well, I think personally, you know, I mean, I'm biased because I smoke, right? But it has really affected it. It's like you play a gig and like people are like outside and then they'll come in halfway through a song and miss the end, and it's really hard to get a captive crowd.
They tell me you should watch out for the warning. The warning signs that'll lead you straight back to the third. Get back on the ride that rides inside. 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 Get it moving now. on the right that cries inside. Get it moving now.
Hi John, how are you?
I'm well.
So, musician, artist, broadcaster, writer, how would you best describe yourself?
For non-profit making hats in the 21st century. Yes. All of those.
Is there one particular discipline that stands out above the others for you?
I trained as a painter. I wear the artistic hat for my daily bread, but the music is probably closest to my heart.
So, who taught you to paint?
My father initially, and then I was lucky enough to study with John Tunnard. Michael Canny, who was the then curator of the very fine Passmore Edwards Gallery, as was at Newlyn, gave me my first introduction to Donald Kerr, who was BBC Southwest. From BBC Plymouth, my dear, I made the great leap to Westwood, which was the commercial station of the time, run by Lou Lewinhack, who was a very, very happy station indeed.
Okay, so from your time in Plymouth, and on my research here, so you've got a bit of time spent in Soho, playing in strip clubs. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and about the clubs and some of the characters?
About the clubs and the characters. Well, on the surface of it, it sounds like a lot of fun and a lot of glamour. It was all about money, and the clubs were run basically to fleece lonely men of their savings. That's really what it was about. My function was to play music so that they didn't leave between the strippers, just something or other. But I was given a hauling over the coals by the proprietor of one of the clubs that I played mostly in for talking to the customers. He said, "Listen, Jonathan, while you're talking to the customers, they ain't talking to the hostesses, and that's costing me money, right? Do we understand one another?" We did understand one another. When I finally left, I offered to throw him down the stairs, but that was a few months later.
Excellent.
Doggers lean on the dark side of country music, with songs about murder, betrayal, love, lust, and the clap. Songs to dance to, songs to cry to, and most definitely songs to laugh at. The Small Town Doggers!
Just bought a ticket on the hate bus. Climb aboard. We're going for a ride. And please observe the safety instructions. Don't scream, or I'll slap you in your head. Please don't scream, or I'll slap you in your head.
How would you describe your music to the viewers?
Country noir.
Hardcore country noir.
Yeah, go with that. As a cross between Nick Cave and Flight of the Conchords, so I've decided is probably where we sit.
Yeah? And how did you come to form Small Town Doggers?
I said, does anyone want to form a joke country band? And Todd leapt at the time. And Sean, funnily enough, came shortly after.
I'm loving your outfit, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's inspired by this chap, you know. So.
So this leads me to who's your strangest band member and why?
Well, I think we all know the answer to that. No question. I don't know about everyone. I think it's Sean.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say Sean.
Yeah.
Probably speaks for himself.
He's on the register.
Sean's written a rap as well, the itinerary rap. And,
it's not just country.
Brings the props.
That's it. Push the boundaries.
Push the boundaries. Yeah. Country rap. That's the next.
Yeah. That'll be the next thing. Yeah.
Okay, what was your finest hour and why?
We've only done 3 gigs. We've only been together 4 months. I don't know. Maybe
the
that.
one you just did?
Maybe.
That was
Yeah,
that was good. Yeah.
Is that a third gig?
Third one. Yeah.
I enjoyed watching Head Love and Passman.
Yeah, I enjoyed. We played at a party recently, and there were lots of people in their 80s, and I enjoyed swearing at them. It was quite nice. Watching them shuffling around anxiously to. Yeah, it was good.
Didn't knock on my door, he kicked it in. Told me that I'd lived a bad life, jam-packed full of sin. I asked him who was he to claim such a thing. He said, I'm God's son, the chosen one, and you do well to take that in.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Beauty of diagrams. Could you introduce yourself and the instrument that you play, please?
I'm Jessica, I play the violin.
I'm Miles, I play the guitar and I sing.
I'm Angus and I play the guitar, sing sometimes.
How would you describe your music?
I'd say it's poppy, isn't it?
We're aspiring to write classic pop songs and perform them accordingly, you know. That's the kind of, it's the tilt at the cut of our jib, I suppose.
How did you all meet?
Well, Miles and I are partners, and Angus is a
friend. Associate of the family.
And who inspires your music?
Well, inspired me first.
Go on then.
Yeah, it's an eclectic mix of answers. So.
Exactly. Everything from Frank Zappa through Jimi Hendrix, through to the Mamas and Papas. Sounds of the 60s is what I'm really into.
Okay.
Mixed with some Cuban influences on occasion.
In my case, I don't know, sort of non-musical things influence me, like the sound of, I don't know, things making noises like wind and stuff like that. Rain, wind, that sort of thing, you know. The sea, we live in a place dominated by the sea. That's the kind of thing that gets me. I like Syd Barrett as well, and the Beatles.
I guess I come from a folk violin background, I suppose. So that's probably what influences my playing, I guess.
Who inspired you to play violin?
Oh no, it's just one of those things I was forced to do when I was little by my mum. No, it wasn't a deep, meaningful start to my violin playing. But I guess it's just whoever, I don't know, just being around people that playing music, I guess, is what influences me the most, I suppose.
What has been your biggest challenge as a band?
Sound check. Sound.
Making a sound, anyway.
Making any
balancement. Well, no, we're all of one accord, but it's always difficult projecting. It never sounds quite the same, I suppose, when you're up there doing it as it hopefully does out there listening to it.
Sounded good to me.
Well, that's good, thank you.
What's your favourite song to sing?
It varies. There's one that we didn't play tonight called Happy Boy that I like to sing.
I like Permanent.
Permanent, that's a good one to sing. So we didn't play that either, did we?
No. What's Happy Boy about?
Happy Boy is about my happiness as a boy.
Speaks for itself.
Yes, and kind of the clue is in the title. But there could be, there's varying amounts of irony that could be involved in that title.
And what direction do you hope to take your band in the future? Where do you hope to see yourselves in a year or so?
We want to be in the highest echelons of, the kingdom of heaven. Well, not heaven actually, because it's sort of kind of.
I was going to say somewhere at least halfway up the totem pole.
Yes,
I'll settle for that.
I think I'd just like to be playing to people who look forward to hearing us and come along and enjoy the music. I think.
Like it.
I'd settle for that too. Yeah.
It's always better if they like it.
Yes.
Yeah, there is that.
Cubs. After playing together for over a year, Cubs was born properly at Foal's after-show party held in a bar in Brixton. This marked a turning point for the band. The band members and audience are given a moment to free themselves from the mind-forged manacles of every day, experiencing instead a primal joy brought forth by funk-infused indie music.
To this interview all night, and I watched your set, and you guys are amazing. So you call yourself the Cubs. Is this because you're all still at school?
No.
Where does the name Cubs come from then?
We just sat down. Well, we were called.
Yeah, we could go off on some major story.
Basically, we liked the sound of it, and we went with it. And lots of bands that we like, kind of like, I don't know, like Wild Beasts. It's all animal related, Animal Collective and Wild Beasts, and these other bands.
We like how kind of throughout our life we've gone from being kind of the cute side of Cubs right at the start, the kind of like jingle jangle, and then kind of gone to the animalistic values, hopefully.
How did you all form then? Do you know each other from school, or have you just been friends for years?
Yeah. Me and Elliot were at school together.
Yeah, and I knew Toby.
And I knew Jay,
separately.
Our drummer.
I'd had several things on the boil all at the same time. I'd left Cornwall to follow the broadcasting side of things, because I was writing for and performing as a broadcasting political satirist on the old Today programme, which was then run by Jack Demanio.
That's right.
And I went on from there to Southern Television, where I expanded a little bit and became musical director on the Get This series, and moved more and more into composition. I went to Rome to work on some movie music, and I also was, should we say, active on the rock underground at that time.
The Hilton Whiteline are based in Penzance. The band was born with the echoes of the loud, quiet, loud generation still ringing in its ears.
For a reason, and there was a medical magazine I was looking through, and it came up, there was a picture of Myleene Klass with an arrow pointing to Myleene Klass with the Hilton Whiteline written on it, and so it's Myleene Klass has got a Hilton Whiteline, as you have, and as I have, as everybody has.
Where? Well, I met Simon, and he said he was in bands and stuff, and I hadn't been in bands since I was 20, which is some time ago, and I got together. I had a few songs lined up from years of playing guitar and stuff. We got together, got in touch with Andy, and that was it. We were going to be a four-piece. Simon plays guitar, and we couldn't find a bass player, so Simon started playing bass, and it kind of worked out. And so,
could you describe your music for us?
Broken pop. I don't know. I made it up some time ago. I've never had to justify it before. It's hard sounding music, but without being afraid of having a melody in it. And what a lot of bands I've noticed don't seem to do anymore is make space for vocals and make space. It's all loud, and I kind of think it's more powerful if you drop away and.
So who writes the music, or do you sit in a room and write music together?
I don't know, it's like a process really. Joe tends to come up with a number of ideas and basic ideas that he's been buzzing around in his head for a number of years probably, and then it gets put into the Hilton Whiteline machine, and when it gets to that stage there's quite a balanced input into the structure of the songs. And Andy as a drummer is not just a drummer, he's quite into the structures and stuff like that, and he's quite a perfectionist, is Andy, and so it gets battered around a little bit. We like a bit of this, like a bit of that, mix it with a bit of this, and a few ideas that maybe I've picked up on, and the song's quite a...
Nothing's out of bounds apart from blues.
Yeah, we try it, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But we always, it's that sort of thing where there's no real sort of fight over the songs. There's always sort of, it's quite a positive vibe within a rehearsal space where, you know, because you do expose yourself a little bit, but it's quite a comfortable place to do it. And so we try anything, and if it works, it does. If it doesn't.
So with the lyrics, you write the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you write about?
I work on my own all day, every day, and I have a general dislike of people, and so generally it's about not liking people very much. Something I've never really grown out of, and I suspect I never will.
There's a thing about a sketch with someone looks at half a glass of milk, and you know, optimist, you know, looks at half a glass. The glass is full, half full, or the glass is half empty. But Joe always looks at it, which is sour.
Clisky, songs, vocals and guitar. My brother Mike Clisky on bass guitar, and Jimmy Jewell on drums.
Okay, and could you describe your music to the audience, please?
We're old school punk rock from 1977.
Okay, and who are your inspirations?
I guess the two major ones would be The Clash and the Ramones.
Miserable men in Primark! Miserable men in Primark!
And how do you think the Cornish music scene has changed over the last few years?
Well, obviously we go way back when we were the age of the Cubs that had played here, where we'd have been sort of had fights on stage because we were playing such radical music to the older generation. So that's changed a lot. I'm always amazed when people clap rather than sort of try to punch me.
Drinking sessions. Now for love confessions.
And what is it about Penzance that you love the most?
I guess you just love where you were born and grow up. You go through a period where you hate it in your late teenage years and early 20s, but most people end up back where they were born, I guess. Yeah, unless it's a really bad place.
And what's the history of the Surgeons?
Well, I was in the first punk band in Penzance in 1977, when there were no punk bands in Penzance called The Cramp. And the Surgeons kind of rose from the ashes of that in 1979, sorry. And we played our final gig in 1984. And then in 2007, our original manager for 1977 was organising a 30 Years of Punk festival, which we agreed to play with great trepidation. It was a one-off gig, and bizarrely a few months later the sound guy that did the sound that day recommended that we support the Damned. So our kind of second gig in 23 years was in front of 600 people with the Damned, and we've not stopped since, basically.
In Primark! Well, it's so real, no watermark! For miserable men!
Would you be able to describe the local art scene, if possible? I mean, could you tell me a little bit about the art movement in Penzance?
Well, in the 50s, the really famous artists came here to get away, and they spawned a whole bunch of young artists who've just sort of come into their own, So there's a lot of them, and they're really good. They're really international, It's got a fabulous reputation for really good stuff, So that's what I like about it, because it's very inspiring, they feed each other in a way.
How do you see the future of Cornish art?
I think it's going to be discovered. I've had a bit of luck recently. I've been able to meet the younger artists in this place, and they're not known. Right. Some of them are really good.
What sort of stuff are they turning out? Is it
abstract? Good abstracts.
A lot of
I think it's harder to do good abstracts than it is to do good real stuff.
Can you tell me what do you think Penzance people are like on the whole?
Oh, a good lot. It's not like St Ives has got an art scene which is so it's a bigger art scene, but the Penzance art scene is more it's more fun,
Weasel Dust are a high-octane, gutterball punk, boogie-charged 21st century garage rock band. Weasel Dust have a mashed-up sound of their own that's difficult to pin down. Weasel Dust.
She tried to make me live without no love. She tried to make me live without no love. She said her own it wouldn't work. I'm glad I tried. She got hurt with her own. I thank the Lord above. 'Cause 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 'cause
could you please introduce yourselves and the instrument that you play?
I'm Grant and I play bass.
I'm Trev, I play guitar and vocals.
Steve, play drums.
Emma, sax.
How did you all meet? Was it your music that brought you together, or have you known each other for quite a while before that?
Well, some members of the band joined because we were looking for a drummer. We met Steve because we were looking for a drummer, but I kind of knew Grant. And we met Emma because she found us on the internet somewhere, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a dodgy
Internet dating.
Find my way when I get down.
It's worked out well though, obviously. Weasel Dust, that's quite an unusual name. How did you come about it?
Well, I was in a band some years ago, and in London we was doing a gig, and I saw a PA hire company with one man doing it, and he was called Weasel Dust. I think it's for something Frank Zappa came up with. He was in a film once, and he would only take the part in the film as long as he could say the word Weasel Dust in it somewhere.
Okay.
No, I ain't gonna go back there again. No, I ain't gonna go back there again. I've been back too many times before. Won't go back there anymore. I ain't gonna go back there again.
So,
Although, you know.
Who's the songwriter? How do you get your material?
That's Trevor.
Where do you get your material from, Trevor?
I write it.
Where or when? Like, how do you go about writing your songs?
Kind of come up with some sort of guitar thing that I like, and then come up with a tune to sing to it, and then very slowly write the lyrics to it. Usually takes quite a long time. Most of the time it takes quite a long time. Sometimes do it quite quickly.
Shines like a light, and help me find my way when I get down.
Do you have like a familiar theme that you use, like love, hate?
No, not really.
Anything like that?
No, we just wrote a song about a monkey that just keeps getting bigger that I stole from the zoo. That's one of the latest ones. I just wanted to write a song about a monkey that just kept growing, you know?
I compose my own music, I listen to my emotions. And what I find most intriguing about performers is the way they express their emotions. And that's what inspires me most as an artist, is the way that one would express their emotions. There are many ways, and all emotions are beautiful. I don't find any one of them as a specific mean for an artist to use. But for me, I prefer the emotion of love. My work has been described as being lyrical, like that of Chagall, Dufay, very linear and stylized line drawings, a bit of the 1960s era, and of Aubrey Beardsley. And there's also a very strong element of romanticism, which I find most influential from the pre-Raphaelite era. In terms of performance, I was involved in a theatrical production which involved dancing, singing, acting and drawing live.
where was that here?
That was at the Acorn Theatre in Penzance.
Oh, right.
One of the joys of Westwood was I met dear Cyril Tawney there, who you doubtless remember was known as the father of the folk revival in this country, and he introduced me to everybody on the folk scene, which hadn't interested me previously, but I spent some time in that area as a result of that meeting.
So your first show, what was the name of your first show? It says here that you were given your own show.
That was with Westwood. Embarrassingly, it was called Young Tomorrow.
Could you tell us a little bit about it?
There's very little to say about it. It wasn't repeated. It was the idea was that a bunch of youngers and worsers were confronted by three elders and betters. We had the vice chairman of the Methodist Conference. We had a bishop. We had an admiral. And these people were supposed to be pillars of the establishment, and we were supposed to tear into them with our savage and revolutionary views. But it turned out that I think the bishop had been to school with the father of my red-hottest, most bearded firebrand, and they started to exchange pleasant tales of happy school days. And I also had a wonderful Scotsman with a most Norwegian accent like that. It was absolutely, he'd been raring to tear into these people because he had a lot of very serious grievances. And he didn't open his mouth during the entire programme. This was fairly typical of the entire series. We just never managed to get sufficiently savage youngsters or sufficiently pompous elders and betters. They just all got on like a house on fire, so the confrontational idea of the programme did not succeed greatly.
Well, if we move on to music now, you play a lot of instruments. Could you tell us what
You tell me why. If you grow up the lizard, boy, you got to learn to do everything for yourself, because there ain't nobody else there to do it for you. My first instrument would have been trumpet. We were on the road at the time, because as you know, my father was a conscientious objector, and Why Worry was a tied cottage, so we were on the road. And absolutely SH1T poor, and he had to do absolutely anything he could, including cobbling bicycles together from rubbish dump to rubbish dump as we travelled to various villages.
Could you tell us a little bit about where you came from?
About the lizard.
Well, just about where you came from. And
well, I got deleted from Wikipedia for people commenting too much about the fact that I was conceived in the little cottage next door to Llandywednac Church, now called Trewidden. At the time it was called Why Worry. Mother Joanna, a very, very beautiful woman, my mother. She was a tennis player, a gifted raconteur, a wonderful swimmer. She used to swim nude below the house at the Lizard, and hence the legends of mermaids.
Hanterhir are a Cornish alternative folk rock group based in Redruth and Truro. This high-energy foursome sing real and imagined stories in English and Cornish of people's lives within Cornwall.
with the silly man. I'll let you bid me out, jumped into Saloma, into our father's salon, and she owe you breath and service.
What does Hanterhir mean?
It comes from, I used to live in Northampton, and the red light district in Northampton at the time was called Semilon. I don't know where the red light district is now, but I used to have to walk through it, and I thought, what a really good name for a band.
And it's stuck?
Yeah, but it didn't seem right to have it in English.
Okay.
So we went for the Cornish closest equivalent.
How do you describe your music?
It's Cornish based, really. Everything's based around Cornwall. I think the sounds do, to me, they sound like Cornwall, and they sound like the environment that we're living in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of loud crashing guitars. There's a lot of soft, acoustic-y sort of guitars. There's a lot of sort of dancey bits, a lot of rock, a lot of things that we've listened to from the bands that have been playing in Cornwall and we've sort of grown up with. They've just sort of, it's just evolved into us, I suppose.
And can you Paris, I would have reconquered I'm gone for Trevor Warban.
Some of your songs are sung in Cornish. Can I hear some? Who speaks Cornish then? I think it's you.
Speak a little tiny bit.
I don't speak any really.
Again is
give us one of your, a slimy.
Oh,
a chat up.
How would you chat Eve up?
Oh, per deg a bennen.
Excuse me? What does that mean?
Teg kitch.
What does that mean?
That roughly says hello. How are you?
That's a smashing blouse you have on.
Very, very beautiful woman. Very, very hot.
Oh, thank you.
Per tom tom.
Thanks very much. How has living in Cornwall inspired your music?
It's just affected everything that we've done, really. It's
live and breathe it.
You know, we've got the acoustic guitar there because it's sort of a little bit more sort of folky and a little bit more organic. We've got Peasy's guitar, which I don't think
I
he
don't
knows
know how to play basically.
He doesn't know how to play, but he just hits it a lot.
Yeah,
and makes
seems
it
to work.
Good.
Makes it sound
Plays
good.
on the roof and
and
chuck it at things, you know. Yeah.
There's I suppose you could say that he's reflecting the industrial heart of Cornwall.
I am.
Thank you very much.
I'm Taf Thomas. I'm co-publican of the Farmers Arms in Penzance.
And I'm Nigel Ballock, also co-publican here. And we've both been involved to some extent or another with the local music scene in Penzance.
Taf, you're heavily involved with a local music festival by the name of Party in the Park. Could you tell us about the bands, please? Well, this year is our third year. Started off very small way. It's probably over doubled, probably hopefully trebled in size this year. We have a band called Broken, a heavy rock band headlining. There's Sinpusher, Weasel Dust, Cobalt Roots, who else?
Tristan's band.
The Elusive Grace. We have two stages. One's a main stage and the other's a studio bar stage. The smaller bands play on the studio bar stage. The afternoon on the main stage is, we hope, family friendly, and then it gets slightly wilder in the evening, especially with the likes of Bugger playing. So Nigel, you've been working in pubs around Penzance for quite a while now, and you've obviously probably seen quite a lot of bands come and go. Could you give us a little insight into the music scene in Penzance?
Well, it's changed quite a lot over the years. I mean, if you go way back, when the Winter Gardens was on front, you had some really big name bands that used to come down here, like Pink Floyd. David Bowie was meant to come down here once, but never made it. But lots of, Hawkwind and all those sorts of bands, Sex Pistols, And there was sort of like loads of bands that used to come down here, but it's all, I mean, we're at the end of the line basically, so what's happened over the years is everything's become a bit more homegrown. I know that when I was booking bands for the studio bar, we did try and get people from far afield, and there are bands coming over from America now and from London, Manchester, stuff like that. But I know that what we've tried to do here is encourage local musicians to get more venues for them so that they can basically, I mean, some of the younger bands, it's so that they can actually get to play in front of an audience, really.
Taf, I wouldn't say that you're not well travelled. I'm sure you've been around a bit, but Taf, how would you say the local or the Penzance music scene stands up against other areas in Britain?
I suppose I've been up to London a fair bit, seen a few bands up there. There's a very different kind of sound down here. People have got a very different attitude to music, and quite often, they're sort of stuck in the old reggae sort of sound. But then you get interesting sounding bands like Petite, Debauche, Hanterhir. They're doing a very different sound to what you're seeing in London at the moment, and I think they could do well if they were to actually move up in that area.
Oh my honey, let me take you to Alexander's ragtime, drag time, something, something, something in the land. Come on in here, come on in here. Alexander's ragtime band. Am I going to do this on my own? We've got singers sitting over there. Farmer Fisher had a fine fat truck, and you couldn't see the colour for the farmyard muck. In the front was a rabbit and a chicken and a duck, all on the way to market. And in the back was sows. Sows? Thank you. Cows. The farmyard cats. Hogs, dogs, the farmyard rats. Hares, mares, a pound of pears. Billy goats in hairy coats, and a horse, of course, and a ton of turnips on the way to market. And as far as that's concerned, it was history. Two flies devoid of delicacy, decency, or tact performed upon my luncheon plate the procreative act. Quite without contrition, they refused to call a halt, intent upon coition, though I peppered them with salt. At length, the she-fly wearied of his passionate attack and shook her pint-sized partner like a raincoat from her back. He lay distrait, diverted, diddly-dee, and hardly spent, to be pulled along inverted like a clown when off she went. Her trampled wings she mastered, looking flustered as she fled, and dropped the little bastard in the mustard on his head.
Agas Dinar, welcome to the studio bar, Penzance's indie venue, for Falconer Promotions Limelight, a day of wall-to-wall music featuring Cornish bands. the Whitehouse Company. I was hoping this had something to do with moral reformer Mary Whitehouse. The Whitehouse Company is an energetic, talented, four-piece band inspired by classic tracks from the Kinks, the Rolling Stones, Neil Young, the Coral, Oasis, the Doors, and many more. Popular songs mixed up with original material with a focus on catchy melodies, strong harmonies, and poetry.
It's a sold out